Oh, yeah!
Ginger Runner.
What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner review. I hope you enjoyed last week's review, April 1st. I thought it was a fun one. We have a lot of reviews in the pipeline that are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So much work to be done, so many pieces of gear to review. I am so excited. Today is no exception. If you remember, a couple of years back, I reviewed a shoe from Salomon that I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved. It actually made my best gear of the year list in 2017. Well, guess what? There's a new version, and it's highly anticipated by myself for 2019 from Salomon, the Sense Ride 2. I have legitimately been looking forward to this shoe for over a year. Since I received the Salomon Sense Ride 1, I put hundreds of miles in this shoe. The Salomon Sense Ride actually became the shoe that I would race in for any distance under 20 to 25 miles. I loved it. It has held up quite well. I still have my pair. The question is, will I hold on to it now that the Sense Ride 2 is here? Quite a conundrum. But first, let's talk about the Sense Ride 2 and what is different from the first version. And not a lot. The upper is a bit redesigned. The mesh is a bit different. Some of the welded overlays, but that's kind of it. Everything has that same DNA as the original version. It's sticking to what works, and that makes me happy. So I want to talk all about the things I like and the dislikes in regards to the Salomon Sense Ride 2 in today's review. So let's get off this horse and ride, starting as always with things that me gusta. It's the same shoe. Let's be honest, anytime a shoe manufacturer comes out with a new version of a shoe that does really well, something changes, inevitably. Look at the Kinvara from Saucony. There's just so many changes that make the shoe different and not always better that I always end up complaining, and I'm so nitpicky as it is. I like to see a shoe come out in new versions that doesn't change a lot, especially when it does so much right in the first round. Sense Ride 2 nails it. It changes what needs to be changed, improves upon things without taking you too far from the joys of the original. Comfort. As with the first version, this Vibe midsole material is awesome. The mix between Energy Cell Plus and Opal midsole materials. It's marketing mumbo jumbo. Let's just say it's a good cross between responsive and cushioned. It's a nice balance and a rare balance that you don't find in a lot of shoes that claim to be both. Usually you only get responsive. The shoes are too stiff, too harsh of a ride. This does teeter right there in the middle, which is nice, and I enjoy it, especially for race environments and short distance rides. Build. So they have swapped out some of these upper materials. It's a very subtle change. I mean, if you look closely at both versions, some of you will be hard pressed to find the differences. They're there, they're subtle, and they're good. The mesh is lighter, more breathable, but still holds up quite well. So the build of the shoe is improved on the last platform, causing smiles. And finally, weight. It's actually lighter. And anytime a new version of a shoe drops a few grams, maybe goes on a bit of a diet or starts eating more salads, that's a good thing. In this case, 17 grams lighter per shoe. Negligible amount of weight, but trust me, as someone who's a stickler for details, consider that a bonus. That being said, it's not all lollipops and mushroom primavera. There are a couple of things that I dislike. They're minor, they're subtle, but I gotta call them out. The cushion. Now listen, I know I mentioned earlier on that it's very similar to the first version, and I enjoy that balance between cushion and responsiveness, but I'd be curious to get the exact durometer readings from both of these midsoles just by touch in both hands. Version 1 is softer by a long shot. Maybe they changed factories or manufacturers, but for some reason, the midsole of this is a bit stiffer. You do notice it. It is not to the point where it causes pain or problems. It's very, very minor, but it is noticeable to me. And in a shoe that I thought did so well for so many miles for me, it's a bummer. Squeaky. When the shoes get wet, the shoes get about as noisy as a Twitter troll. This can be said about a lot of shoes, but in this case, the whole group that I was running with one day when it was pouring down rain, there was a couple of creek crossings, stopped the run to ask where the noise was coming from. It was that loud, it was that annoying. I was embarrassed. If you were watching this and we were running that day, it was my shoes. I'm sorry. Could be a glue they're using, some sort of interface between the insole and the midsole, the Strobel board, whatever it is, it's noisy. Never once had that problem in the first version. I loved this in all inclement weather. It worked great, but I don't know what's up. And finally, durability. It's something that bugged me with the Salomon Sense Ride 1. The overlays started to come apart. A lot of those welds started to come undone. Again, hundreds of miles in that shoe. We're just approaching about 100 miles in this one. Everything's holding up okay. It's a long-term concern. I just want to make sure that all the materials hold up because I have a feeling I'll be running in this shoe a lot, making that my last dislike. So in conclusion, the Salomon Sense Ride 2 I think is an improved shoe from the first version. There's still a couple of things that bug me a little bit about it, but honestly, it's just me being super nitpicky. I know many of you have tried the Sense Ride since my first review and have really enjoyed it. Some people, it's just not the right shoe for you, which is totally fine. It is, for me, one of the best Salomon shoes that I can put my foot in, feel comfortable running in, long distances, short distances, feel fast in. As I mentioned in my last review of the Salomon Sense Ride version 1, Salomon just has this tendency where all of their shoes kind of begin to feel the same for me, especially in the last couple of years. The Sense Ride and the Sense Ride 2 are by far standouts that I keep going to, keep grabbing, and enjoy thoroughly. So let's get more specific. Build quality, the shoe's holding up great. I think it's holding up as well as the first version, which says a lot. That's good. Comfort, it's so similar. It's also weirdly different than the first version. So I'm gonna continue to hold out on figuring out what the hell's going on in that midsole. It makes you feel a little bit stiffer, but the comfort is a great balance between cushion and responsiveness. It's holding up well. Fit, again, one of the best fitting Salomons, one of my favorites. The lacing systems are always dialed. The midfoot and forefoot fit for me are great. I don't necessarily have a huge wide foot, but I do prefer a wider forefoot. This shoe does really well for me from the Salomon lineup. Price at $119, that is a pretty solid price point. They don't go on sale often. When they do get a steep price drop. For right now, I think $119 is a pretty dang good deal for a shoe that is going to be in my rotation quite often. And finally, looks. Again, subjective. I don't really like this colorway. I think it's a little too dad boy, but there's a couple other colorways that are amazing. Red, blue. They're so cool, and it just sticks to the Salomon branding, which I've always loved. Which brings me to my final criteria. Is the Salomon Sense Ride 2 a buy, try, or a why? As with the first version, it's a solid buy. If you are looking for a neutral go fast shoe that can fit a lot of foot styles, but also keep you fast, keep you comfortable, please check out this shoe. And as always, in the description of this video, there is a link to Running Warehouse. It is an affiliate link, so you can check out the shoes, you can find out more information, you can get them, and it helps this channel out, cost you nothing. It's a win-win. And if you're a Patreon supporter, there's some cool discount codes as well. So that is it, my friends, for my review of the Sense Ride 2. What are your thoughts on this shoe? Have you got a chance to run in this or the first version? In the comments of this video, let me know. Let's talk a little bit about that shoe. That is it. Now, if you enjoyed this video, of course, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/thegingerrunner. New videos happening every single week, new live shows. We just had Scott Jurek on. Come on. It's an amazing guest. You want to go check out that Ginger Runner Live. Social media links there so you can follow across. Lots of stuff happening right now. We have a new race coming up, new album dropped, all that good stuff. If you want to help support this channel, keep it going, keep the mics hot, the lights on, patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1 a month. That's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Now get out there, train hard, race harder, and party the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.